What if the date on your calendar is not random at all, and February 1st is the moment heaven finally stops watching and starts choosing you? I want you to sit with that question, because what I am about to share is not comfortable, not cute, and not for everyone. February 1st changes everything, and if you are hearing this right now, it is already working. Before I go any further, if messages like this reach something deep in you, subscribe to this channel now. Like this video so it reaches the ones who are still doubting themselves. And comment "I'm ready" if you feel something shifting already. Stay with me until the end, because later I'm going to explain the one sign God uses to confirm that you are the one being chosen now, and most people miss it completely. Let me be direct. February 1st is not about luck. It is not about a new month. It is not about motivation. It is about alignment. Felt delayed. Why did the doors almost open but didn't? Why you felt called but unseen? Why did your heart keep pulling you towards something bigger, even when logic said, "Be quiet and settle"? This is why. Because God does not rush choosing people who are meant to carry weight. Here is the verse you need to hear today. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. February 1st is the moment God stops measuring your outside life and starts responding to what has been forming inside you. Let me tell you something most people will never hear. God does not choose the loudest. God does not choose the most popular. God does not choose the most prepared on paper. God chooses the ones who were shaped in silence. And that silence you've been living in, that was not rejection. That was training. Think about the last few months. You lost interest in shallow conversations. You pulled away from chaos without knowing why. You started questioning your old goals. You felt lonely even around people. That was not depression. That was separation. When God is about to choose you publicly, He separates you privately first. February 1st marks the shift from internal preparation to external movement. Noise. Movement. Here's where psychology meets the spiritual. Your nervous system has been rewired through pressure. Your tolerance for nonsense has dropped. Your intuition has sharpened. Your empathy has deepened. You are no longer reactive the way you used to be. And that is dangerous to environments that benefited from your confusion. This is why resistance shows up right before alignment. If you felt sudden doubt recently, listen closely. That doubt is not yours. It's the echo of old versions of you trying to survive in a future they no longer belong in. February 1st is when God says, "Enough observing. It's time to choose." But choosing doesn't always feel like a celebration. No, that's because God has been seeing you when no one else did. Every quiet choice you made, every time you didn't retaliate, every time you stayed soft in a hard world, those moments were recorded. This is why February 1st matters. It's not about what you do next. It's about who you've become. Now here's the mini cliffhanger I promised. There is one sign that confirms God is choosing you now, not later, now. And it has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with relationships, nothing to do with status. I'll reveal it soon, but first you need to understand the cost of being chosen. Being chosen does not mean life gets easier. It means life gets clearer. You will no longer be able to lie to yourself. You will feel discomfort when you compromise. You will feel physical tension when you ignore your intuition. That's not anxiety, that's alignment activating. This is called cognitive integrity. Spiritually, it's obedience to your calling. Your mind, body, and spirit are no longer willing to live in contradiction. February 1st is when the inner conflict ends, not because everything is solved, but because you stop betraying yourself. And let me be clear, this choice is not favoritism. It is my responsibility. God chooses carriers, messengers, builders, healers, people who can hold truth without becoming arrogant. And that's why you were tested. You were tested with delay to see if you would quit. You were tested with isolation to see if you would hear God instead of noise. You were tested with misunderstanding to see if you would stay kind. You passed more than you realize. That's why February 1st is not asking for your permission. It's announcing a decision. You may already feel it, a quiet confidence replacing desperation. Sense of I don't need to prove myself anymore. That's the shift. Now here is the sign I promised. The confirmation that God is choosing you now. You are no longer afraid of being alone. Read that again in your spirit. When God chooses you, He removes your fear of solitude because you no longer need external validation to feel whole. This is huge. Most people chase approval. Chosen people carry peace. If you've noticed that you'd rather be alone than misunderstood, this is it. If you'd rather wait than force, this is it. If you'd rather be honest than liked, this is it. February 1st is when God entrusts you with yourself. And from a psychological perspective, this is identity consolidation. Your sense of self is no longer fragmented. Spiritually, this is surrender without fear. Now listen carefully. What comes next will require courage. You may be called to speak when you used to stay silent. You may be called to leave when you used to stay loyal. You may be called to lead when you want to follow. This is not punishment. This is positioning. God does not choose you to break you. God chooses you because you won't break when others would. February 1st is not the finish line. It's the assignment being activated. And yes, you will still have days of doubt. You will still feel human. You will still question yourself. But the difference now is this: you will move anyway. That's what faith looks like in real life. Not confidence, movement. If this message is speaking to you, don't ignore it. Moments like this don't repeat often. Subscribe if you're ready to walk this path with awareness. Like this video so it reaches others who are standing at the same edge. And comment what February 1st means to you, because speaking it makes it real. Remember this: chosen doesn't mean you're better. It means you're ready. And February 1st, that's the day God says, now. Now let me take you deeper, because what happens after being chosen is where most people get confused. Being chosen is quiet at first. There is no announcement, no applause, no validation. Instead, God sharpens your discernment. You start seeing people clearly, even when you wish you didn't. You notice patterns you used to ignore. You feel the truth in your body before your mind catches up. And this can feel heavy, because clarity removes excuses. Here's the verse meant for this moment. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Read that slowly in your spirit. God didn't just choose you now. He recognized you now. February 1st activates recognition. You may feel a strange urgency, not panic. A pull to stop wasting time. A pull to be honest. A pull to align your life with what you already know. That's why procrastination feels painful lately. That's why distractions don't satisfy anymore. Your soul is tired of rehearsing a life you've outgrown. If this is resonating, pause for a moment and comment, I feel the pull. Say it, claim it, because words anchor awareness. Let me say something boldly. Not everyone will come with you. And that grief you feel, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means your heart is intact. Chosen people feel deeply, but they don't stay stuck. Psychologically, this is emotional maturity. Spiritually, it's trust without control. You are learning to release without resentment. That's a sign. Another sign, you've stopped chasing explanations. You no longer need closure from people who never had clarity themselves. Convinced, you don't need to defend. That silence you've developed, that's authority. If you've noticed you're speaking less but meaning more, comment, my silence is strength. February 1st marks the end of over-explaining your existence. Now here's the part that might surprise you. God chooses people who doubt themselves, not because doubt is holy, but because humility keeps you teachable. Confidence can be built, character must be revealed. That's why you were humbled. Not humiliated, humbled. There's a difference. Humiliation breaks identity. Humbling refines it. And if you're still here listening, you weren't broken. You were refined. Let that land. Comment, I was refined, not rejected. February 1st is when the refining fire cools and clarity remains. You may notice synchronicities increasing, people mentioning things you prayed about silently, aligning without force. That's not a coincidence. That's coherence. Your internal world is finally matching your external direction. And yes, fear may still whisper, but fear no longer drives. Courage does. Courage doesn't shout, it commits. So if you're feeling calm but serious about your future, that's the choosing settling in. This is where discipline replaces motivation. This is where devotion replaces excitement. God trusts you with consistency now. That's why the emotional highs aren't as extreme. You're stabilizing. If you've felt emotionally grounded lately, even in uncertainty, comment, I am steady. February 1st is about steadiness. And finally, hear this clearly. Being chosen does not remove your humanity. You'll still rest, you'll still feel, you'll still learn, but you won't abandon yourself anymore. That's the real miracle, to do something. He's choosing you to be someone. And if this message met you exactly where you are, stay connected. Subscribe so you don't walk this season unaware. Like this video so others recognize the shift too. And comment the phrase that resonates most with you below. I'm ready, I feel the pull. I was refined, not rejected. Or, my silence is strength. Because February 1st didn't change everything randomly, it changed everything intentionally. Stay with me, because this is where the message becomes personal. Up to now, you've felt the shift internally. What happens next is external. After February 1st, God starts rearranging your environment. Not gently, precisely. Some connections will fade without conflict. Some plans will fall apart without warning. Some doors will close even though you prayed for them to open. That's not a loss, that's protection. This stage, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Notice it doesn't say all things feel good, it says all things work. If something ended recently and you didn't fight it the way you used to, comment, I trust the process. That's a sign you're no longer operating from fear. Chosen people don't cling, they discern. And discernment is expensive, because once you see clearly, you can't pretend anymore. You might feel moments of grief for the version of you that tried so hard to belong. Honor that version, but don't return to it. February 1st is the line you don't cross backward. Psychologically, this is identity closure. Spiritually, it's obedience without reassurance. You're learning to walk without needing constant signs. And here's something subtle, but powerful. Begging. You're aligning. Instead of please, it's becoming prepare me. If your prayers feel quieter but deeper, comment, my prayers have changed. That's maturity. Now let me say this clearly, because it needs to be said. Not everyone who supports you understands you. Some people will cheer for your success, but resist your transformation. Some will like your progress, but not your boundaries. That's okay. You're not here to be agreed with. You're here to be aligned. February 1st is when approval loses its power, and this is where confidence becomes calm. You don't need to announce who you are becoming. Your decisions will say it for you. If you've stopped explaining yourself to people who don't listen, comment, I choose alignment. Now listen closely. The next season will require consistency, not intensity. Small choices, daily integrity, quiet discipline, shortcuts. This is how chosen lives are built. And yes, there will be moments when you wonder if it's worth it. Those moments don't mean you're off track. They mean you're human. But you won't quit, because quitting doesn't feel like relief anymore. If you've noticed that walking away from your purpose now feels heavier than staying, comment, I won't turn back. That's the seal. February 1st didn't make you special. It made you responsible. Responsible for your energy. Responsible for your truth. Responsible for your calling. And here's the final truth I want to leave you with. God doesn't choose perfect people. He chooses willing ones. If you're still listening, you're willing. So stay aware, stay grounded, stay honest, And when doubt whispers, remember this: you were not chosen by accident. Comment the phrase that feels right in your spirit right now. Process. My prayers have changed. I choose alignment. Or I won't turn back. Because speaking isn't for me. It's for you. Let me slow this down, because what you are stepping into next requires awareness, not speed. After being chosen, there is a pause. Not a delay. A pause. This is where God watches how you move without pressure. How you treat people when no one is watching. How you respond when there's no reward attached. And this is the verse for this moment. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness is not inactivity. It's trust without panic. If you felt less rushed lately, even when things are unclear, comment, I am learning stillness.
That's not laziness. That's faith maturing. Here's something few people understand. When God chooses you,
Urgency leaves, but responsibility stays. You stop chasing timelines. You stop comparing paths. You stop asking, why them and not me? Me? Because comparison fades when calling becomes clear. Psychologically, your nervous system exits survival mode. Spiritually, your spirit enters stewardship mode. You are no longer asking, what do I get? You're asking, what am I entrusted with? If that shift feels familiar, comment, I feel entrusted. Now let me speak to the exhaustion you may still feel. Yes, you are chosen, but chosen people still rest. Rest is not weakness, it's wisdom. Burnout happens when you try to prove what God already confirmed. So if you've been protecting your energy more, comment, I honor my energy. That's obedience too.